Hey, everybody, welcome to a new episode of the SnapRefund Podcast. And today we're going to talk about leadership. You see, leadership doesn't happen without access, opportunities, and clear pathways to develop talent. Across the insurance industries, companies are really navigating this increasing complexity. But at the same time, they're being challenged to build stronger, more inclusive leadership pipelines that really reflect the future of the business. Today, we're joined by Randi Kasongo, the president of the Los Angeles chapter of the National African American Insurance Association. Through her leadership at NAAIA LA, Randi is really helping expand opportunities to strengthen leadership pathways and build stronger pipelines for African American professionals across the insurance industry. She also works as an enterprise governance and performance leader, helping organizations eliminate the friction between people, processes, systems, and decisions that prevent strategy from becoming real outcomes. Her work focuses on one core mission, and that's building environments where leadership, strategy, and execution align. Today, we're going to be diving a little bit about how organization can build stronger leadership and learn a little bit more about Randi's story and how she got to the point of being LA chapter NAAIA president. Randi, thank you so much for being here with us on the SnapRefund Podcast. Just to start things off, I'd love to hear about your journey and how you got into the insurance industry all the way to becoming NAAIA LA chapter president.
Yeah, well, thank you, Anise, for allowing me to come and be a guest on your podcast. That opening was amazing.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Um, I started in the industry 14 years ago, and I remember I went to school for criminal justice, and I was really actively trying to get in as like an investigator. I liked investigations. One, I didn't want to be cooped up in nobody's office. I liked being out and free. And after no luck in taking all the tests, one of my girlfriends down in San Diego was like, "Hey, this company is hiring Geico." And I said, I don't work at Geico. And she said, "No, I heard that they pay well." And, so I was like, all right. And so I went and I applied. I did not get an interview. And then my mother, who was in recruiting at the time for the state, she was at an event and she seen a recruiter. And so she said I was trying to get involved. And so I applied again. And I applied for this like a second level claim professional.
Okay.
And I did not get a response. And so I remember driving 2 hours down to San Diego. So I was in the Inland Empire at the time. I drove 2 hours down to San Diego. And this was before COVID, when you can still interact with people and go into an office, a recruiting office. And I got there and I had my suit on and I said, I applied for this position. I hadn't heard from anybody. I'm checking in on my application. They're like, "Oh, well, if we'll take a look. If we feel like your resume it fits the bill, then we'll give you a call." And I was like, "That's great and all, but I'm really excited about this position.
Wow.
And is it possible that I can speak to somebody?" And they're like, "No." And then like at the same time, the recruiter actually came out and said, "Okay, well, we'll take a look again. And again, if your application's a fit, we'll call you." And at that moment, I was like, "You know what? Let me get up out of here, because if you press too hard, you borderline crazy. So I was like,
Yes.
let me leave." And I went home, and that the next morning they called me and they're like, "Your application really looks nice. We're trying to wrap up interviews today. Is it possible that when is the soonest that you can get here?"
Wow.
And I'm 2 hours away, right? And
Uh-huh.
so I said, I can be there at 10. This was 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, "I could be there at 10." And she's like, "Okay, great." I put
Yeah.
that same suit right back on and I
Yes.
drove 2 hours right back down there and for the interview. And at that time, it was like a subsequent, like, subset of different interviews. And one of the ladies came to me and she said, "I know you drove a long way, so I'm gonna set up." She said, "Do some job shadowing, and then I'm gonna set up a meeting with you and the top person, so he can give you a yes or no before you leave here today. And I was like, all right, cool, thank you. And that's favor, right? And we talk about, just
Yes.
being in the right place and the Lord positioning us. So I met, I got in with the he was the regional rep or whatever, yeah, the claim person. And I remember sitting there, he's asking me questions, and I'm answering them. And this last question he asked me, he says, you know, if we're not looking for people to fill jobs, we're looking for people to fill careers, to have a career. And if I give you this job, it's not just you coming on. Like, what makes me think that you're going to make this a career? Because we pay well, and I think at that time it was like $40,000 or something like that. And he was like, what is gonna tell me why I should hire you and give you this like $40,000 and how you're gonna make it a career, whatever. Like, what's the how you're gonna invest? What makes this investment worth? What makes Tell me what is gonna make you. What he said? He said no. He said, tell me why I should invest this $40,000 into you and why you're gonna make this a career. And I don't know what came over me, but I looked at him and I said, "Sir, I just drove 2 hours each way for 3 days. That's 6 hours of drive time and $40 in gas. And to a broke college student, I'm already invested in this. So that
Mhm.
$40,000 that you're trying to give me, I've already invested more than what you've already invested. Because $40 to a broke college student is a lot, right?"
That's right.
And I said, "So I'm here in front of you looking for a return on my investment." And he looked at me and he was like, "You got the job." And in that moment, I was like, "Yes." And I went back home. It was nice, but I stayed at Geico. I promoted every year. I was able to meet the CEO at the time, Tony Nicely, because I closed a lot of claims. And I really just was a high performer, just off the rip.
Yeah.
And got into investigations and that's how I started in that fraud risk management space. Wanted to grow my career and learn more, and so wanted to expand into other areas of the business. Geico was a single line insurer. It was getting a little monotonous at the time. I was young and in a role that people kind of come in and as a second retirement and ride out into the sunset
Mm.
on. And it was good, but I just always had this hunger and craving to learn more about the business. And then I was always also too involved in like diversity stuff, employee engagement activities, trainings, and things like that. So parlay those skills over to another company, and then finally over to where I'm at now, and just had some really good mentors and really good bosses at the time. I really do thank Brian Biggs for hiring me at Geico and giving me opportunity, and another bang up supervisor that I had, Antonio Carbajal, were really just helping mold my leadership skills and even to my interests and things like that to help me broaden my skill set, so where I can to where I can leverage it, not just and grow from where I was in the fraud risk space to business insurance to learning and development to where I'm at with um, agile product ownership. So being connected, I say all that to say is that being connected to people in the industry, and then also to letting people know what you're looking for. Um, a friend of mine who was also an investigator at the time, Malcolm McGuire, he introduced me to NAAIA. And
Mm.
at the time he was in Texas, and Texas has a really, really, really good stable chapter. And Los Angeles did not have a chapter at the time. Like they were in like a flux of like being chartered but not being it. And in my mind, I'm like, this is LA. Like, why does LA not have a chapter? If Atlanta has a chapter, if Detroit has a chapter, if all these other places, these big metro areas have chapters, why doesn't LA not have a chapter? And so COVID happened around the time, and they were having the NAAIA organization was having music, these music meetup networking. It's like a virtual networking thing. And I was like, let me join one of these and just sit back. And so I remember I was on the call. Mika Moore, who's the inaugural president of NAIA Los Angeles, she was on the call. I think Claude was on the call. Amari was on the call. Ngozi was on the call. And I was on the call, but I was on mute and off camera. And I just heard them talking and talking, and they just had jabs about millennials. And I'm like, what they're saying about millennials is not true. Like, these are my people, you know what I'm saying? And I know I got off of mute and I said, y'all gonna stop taking jabs at my people like this. And after that, it was kind of like a rip. Me and Mika developed a relationship, and when she was looking for a board, I got on as just a board member at large. But really with the craving and passion of wanting to expand NAIA and understand, like, we NAIA, it's NAIA of LA. Like, I really feel like this is LA. So
Mhm.
we, in every other, space and segment of industries, like we set pace and tempos, right? And so it's like we should do the same with this chapter. So
Abs-
focused a lot about branding, marketing, and really growing NAIA LA to be what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure being a part of NAIA since joining NAIA LA. And shout out to Mika Moore and the entire board and everybody that was there to really bring this chapter together, because the organization and the association of NAIA, just the general chapter, is just amazing. And then there's all
Yes.
these small chapters in every city that are just incredible people that you meet and you network and you build those relationships. I want to take a step back and really, really come through with the story, because there's a lot that you just shared. And one of the things that I want to ask that kind of led you to being president, to where you are now as president of NAIA LA, is what did you learn about yourself in that moment when you went through all that you went through to get that job at Geico, that has stayed with you and carried you into the position of being NAIA LA chapter president?
Oh yeah, wow. That's a loaded question, Denise.
There's a lot to
Um,
break down there.
yeah, I would say um resilience. Like, I'm
Mm,
a very resilient person,
yeah,
and very resourceful. My mother and father, but mainly my mother, told me, like, like, closed mouths don't get fed.
yeah,
You There's so many people out here telling you no, you don't tell yourself no. So for me, it created like a boldness to just go out there and get it, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Because if 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 you have trust in yourself and what you know you can do and accomplish, the world is your oyster. You
yeah.
can do whatever you want to do and be good at it and be successful and yield results from it because you put in that work, right? And you're an overcomer. And so I would say that, and then also too understanding that you can't get nowhere alone. So
Right.
building relationships and connecting with people and just and not people, a lot of people think like networking is transactional and they feel it's heavy and, oh my gosh, quid pro quo, like all these things. But really, at the core root of it is just getting to know people for people, like less about what they can do for you now, more about maybe what you can do for them.
Mm,
And over time, that relationship will grow. So yeah, they may come to you like, hey, I'm looking for this. You may come to them, I'm looking for this. But because their relationship is there, it doesn't feel transactional. But at the end of the day, like, everybody knows, like, we all live in a system that works off of the giving and taking of, and of everyone. So
yeah.
it's not unknown. It's just in the approach and how you do it. But yeah, getting to know people, and it also showed me that I'm a what they call a generalist. Like I got some
Okay.
specialties, but I'm a Swiss Army knife woman. Like I can do just about any and everything that I put my mind to it. And if I don't know how to do it, then I'll learn it. And I'm a fast learner to take that and to do it. And I really like taking a lot of the information that I have and compounding that to level it to something else or to connect it to something else to make something fruitful. Bringing things to life is really what really gives me joy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it shows, being a chapter member and seeing the leadership really invest into the members and doing what she can to really uplift everybody. It's contagious, right? And it makes me want to
Yeah,
do more for my chapter, for my community, for my organization. It's really a rising tide raises all the ships, which is
exactly.
fantastic. As president of NAIA LA, when it comes to that leadership gap that we see in the insurance industry, what are you most focused on addressing right now?
You know, for me, and this is one of the things about being president. Like everybody has their own issues that they deal with, their own past, their own walks, their own flight that they have to navigate. But as a leader in an organization, you hear it and you see it from many, many different angles, not just in your own walk, but also too in the board, in members, in people that are not even members, but maybe they're in your organization or maybe they're in the community or something. And so you hear the information and all of these different aspects and layers of it. And so, what I've gathered through conversing with a lot of different people is that it's not about not wanting to step into leadership. It's not about the lack of skills. It's not about the wherewithal or anything or the ability to be mentored or sponsored or whatever. Like I think there's a lot of people that are over mentored and
Mm,
people say they're under sponsored, but I think they're over sponsored too, or at least the break from what I see is in the sponsorship piece.
hmm.
Um, and it's like I've done all the projects, I've done all the stretch assignments, I've done all of those things that one would say helps me or promotes me into a particular leadership role. However, the breakdown is the opportunity, right? And if
Yeah.
a sponsorship doesn't lead into an opportunity, or if opportunity isn't created off of a sponsorship, like my question is always, well, is it really truly a sponsorship, right?
Mm,
And I know a lot of people are like, I've been watching the game tapes. I've been, looking at the plays. I'm ready. I'm done talking about theory. Put me in the game, coach.
yes. Yeah.
That's what people want, to be put in the game. And there's a break in the piece where sponsorship leads to being put into the game. So we got plenty of power players on teams across the board, that can show up, show out. Yes. Will they need support? Of course, everybody
Yeah.
needs support when they're in any type of level, especially being in a new role, right? Or the new first level leadership, second level leadership, third, like whatever. You're always going to need support. And I just think that there's a lack of opportunity and support when it comes to really that leadership capability in putting people in leadership roles.
I think that's a great point, what you're pointing out. For the listeners that don't really understand the dynamic of sponsorship versus mentorship, can you explain that a little bit more, what you mean by that?
Yeah, and I ain't no expert in the matter, but from what I heard, a mentor is somebody that comes alongside you that, you can um help navigating certain things. It's an informal relationship. A sponsor is somebody that knows your work, but that are in rooms that you are not in, that can
Mhm.
speak to your character, your work, who you are, your abilities, to promote and change the climate of your what it is, your reputation
Yeah,
for
yeah,
others, right? And how
yeah.
people receive or perceive you. So,
It's a it's a powerful point what you're pointing out there, and just understanding, as Black leaders, having certain sponsors in rooms being able to talk about us on our behalf, and it isn't just, relegated to a certain race, but it's just having somebody that is in those rooms that
correct.
can understand who you are trying to get into that room. And that's by getting those leadership roles, right? You talk about
Yes.
put me in the game, coach. And
Yeah, coach.
there's so many fantastic leaders and members that we see in the organization, that it really is important having that team, that system behind you to help also push you and sponsor. NAAIA LA, NAAIA in general is a sponsor for African American leaders and African American members that are in the insurance industry. What are some of the biggest barriers that you see that we still face when it comes to advancing into those leadership roles, though?
Yeah, that's exactly why NAIA Los Angeles matters, and organizations like NAIA in general, right? Is because we interface with leaders at organizations. We help empower people to e- get exposed to different career opportunities, different parts of the business, different professional development. Opportunities that they may need in order to make sure that they are the best candidate for a particular role, and they have those connections, and they have that exposure there, and the knowledge too of maybe some places that they may not want to go, right? And so all of that is one of the reasons why I'm a part of NAIA, and I think NAIA is very beneficial for people across the board looking for community, looking for a way to develop, looking for a way to connect with other people that are outside of their silos and space, the organizations that they may be in, or communities that the communities that they live in, or even segments of work that they're in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
NAIA is a fantastic organization. And for our listeners that's just hearing of NAIA for the first time, NAIA is the National African American Insurance Association. It really is an organization that really lifts African American members that are in the insurance industry and giving them the support in the community that they need to really grow. The LA chapter, which is the chapter that I'm a part of, has been such a phenomenal place and community for me to grow. What are some of the initiatives that you're the most excited about that NAIA LA is getting ready to do? Because that really directly changes the outcomes for the professionals in the industry. What excites you the most that's coming up?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And before I go into what excites me and some initiatives that I'm excited about, I want to share how you became a member, because I think that's
Yeah.
important in our distinction and relationship here. But when I would think I was vice president at the time, or yeah, it was probably vice president at the time, and we had a general body meeting, and you were new to the chapter, no, I think even new to the industry, because a lot of times in LA, like locally, like a lot of us know each other and know who's who, or whatever. And no, I had not heard of you, and Mika had not heard of you, and we were in this meeting, and this is before AI took flight, right? You were on the meeting, or you weren't. I don't know if you were on the meeting or if you weren't,
I,
but your
I
note
was
taker
not on the
was.
meeting, but my note
You
taker was.
Yeah, okay. You was not on the
I
meeting, but your
sent my
note taker
agent.
was. You
Yeah.
sent an agent, yes. Oh, a bot. So, anyways, and we didn't know what that was. We knew Anise Taylor was a member, but we didn't know anything about Anise Taylor, note taker, or nothing. And So we just let it in the room, and I was in a fraud risk space at that time, and was aware of all the different things that the scheme and scams of people and trying to, defraud companies and, all of the things, right? So my awareness was on high alert. And after the call, um, we got an email saying, "Oh, we've captured notes from your meeting and a video and a recording and an audio and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, you cannot record without permission." And all of my fraud risk antennas are going up and they're flares. And I'm just like, Mika. And Mika's an attorney, so she's already like, this
I'll
ain't
never
right.
do this.
And we huddled together and was like, okay, well, how do we approach this? And that was our first like ever indication or exposure to any of the note taker, the bot stuff, the AI use, the all of that stuff. And it scared the bejesus out of all of us. We were like, what do we talk about? We had to go back and do like a checks and balance of things. And then also too, how we had to figure out how to approach the situation with a member that's new without, causing harm or hurt or, just
Wow.
a distaste for us in all of these things, but also too like reconciling with understanding and all of that. And so that is how that was our first interaction with you, Anise, and I think that is hilarious because now you are I would say like a one of our best members. Your support, not just for me, but our chapter has just been undeniable over the years. And then even now, this year, you came on as a sponsor of our organization, which is truly tremendous, and we really do thank you for your support there, and really are looking to really bridge that partnership in a
Yes.
way that's fruitful for both parties. But you've already invested so much over the years in our organization. I think just to go from scaring the mess out of us to be a full-fledged supporter and the dynamics there, I think that's amazing. But
Wow, that's a pretty crazy story because honestly, I did not know that there was all that internal discussion that was happening in that moment. I do remember having the conversation with some members after. I do remember being chewed out over it. And it was
not shoot out.
yeah, and it was really in the hopes of like, as also sharing those notes with you was like also like here now you guys also have access to notes. So it was really
Mhm.
interesting because in that moment it was also like where I'm also trying to do something good and like help others. But I think where I have learned throughout the years by being a technologist and somebody that really studies what technology is really going to impact society as we continue to move forward, which has happened throughout, way before we got here. People were
Mhm.
tripping off of the printing press, like, and, things
Right.
like that. And into where we're at today with AI. It's really just an interesting story to hear that. But thank you for sharing. But I feel like after we have gotten over that stage, like it's been really beautiful. I think the people still nonetheless have been great, great members and great community that has really helped me in just understanding and navigating this space because Snap
Mhm.
Refund's a little interesting. We're not really an insurance carrier, we're an insurance technology where we support carriers, we support agents, we support brokers, so we're really a part of the ecosystem. And you talked
Yeah.
about it being a relationship ecosystem. The last thing that you want to do is come in and ruffle anybody's feathers by, thinking you're helping them, but really it in the way that they're looking at you're not helping. Well,
And
let
you're
me
not
ask you,
helping.
yeah,
But
well, let me ask you a question because I think it is an important thing to kind of like navigate through in where we're going with things. So knowing from where we were then, which honestly wasn't that long ago. It was like maybe three,
no.
4 years ago. It wasn't that long.
Mhm.
And knowing kind of what you do know now about AI and with agents coming into the space and whatnot, what is your perspective now leaning into the future and all this new changes that's getting ready to happen in the insurance industry? What are your thoughts of where things are going?
Yeah, so you bring up a good point is that it's different, right? And new is always different. The people were freaking out at the printing press. They were
Yeah.
freaking out at, computers. They're freaking out
Mhm.
at, even if you take it and put it in a people perspective, if a person didn't grow up in a particular domain and they want to transfer into a new space, they still get the same reaction on that level, on a human level, of like, why are you in this space? You don't know anything. But those skills can be transferable and translate into other things, and also too add a level of dynamic there to that adds value in a way that the people that did grow up in that domain don't have, right? And so it's really good to be open to just and lean into curiosity when it comes to anything new, what no matter what industry or person or technology it is, and really be open and see like what is this really, how can it help me, what are some things I can do to protect myself and to guard against fraud, I will say, because I will always be a fraud risk person. And so, those type of things and insights can just help people get more comfortable with that. And so for NAIA, because there's because for NAIA LA, because there's that we understand that in our community, new and technology and things, can does provide a little hesitancy, right? And so there is a trust factor there that needs to be built. And so we also too come in and help our members with understanding that. So I do remember around the time we had a diversity program that focused heavily on tech. It was during Tech Week in October, and we brought some people in from the cybersecurity space,
Mm.
from the AI space, and had a conversation to give our members insight into what is happening, what is this tool, what is this technology, how can we use it, what do we really need to be guarded against, and what do we need to be open about, and really rethink about those things. And so I appreciate um, companies like yours that still want to be a part of our organization and see value in presenting new opportunities and enhancements, because you elevate us. And so it's not just about coming and, oh, well, if I can't get a job through NAIA, or I can't meet somebody through NAIA, but it's also too, how can you give back to the members in NAIA to help them ease into the transition of whatever space and segment that you're in. Because again, this is we're talking a relationship ecosystem, right? Like we're all a part of this system and we need to help each other. And so that's just how Naya steps in, and I appreciate you, even your scare, but your consistency in providing us opportunity to really lean into the tech space.
Yeah, well, I think that's the beauty of Naya, right? And when you build something, you kind of don't know how big it's going to grow, and the tentacles that it reaches and the people that it starts to bring in to the ecosystem,
Yeah.
and how the ecosystem, can start from like agents to carriers to getting into insure tech. Eventually you might have somebody that's just focused on like insurance security and just, all the different things that
So
can
many
actually.
different parts.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's actually one of my favorite things about the insurance industry. When I first learned of the insurance industry, I thought it'd be boring, but
Yeah.
then as I dove deeper into some of the challenges and the bottlenecks that was happening in the industry, and just knowing that we can bring solutions to the industry, it was really a perfect marriage that we felt like, okay, this is an industry that we want to grow in, because for us, it always came back to our mission, and our mission is giving people greater control of their money. We never
Mm.
understood why, when people were in the most dire point of the insurance life cycle, when after they've gone through all the catastrophe and they've paid every single premium on time, when it was that moment, the carrier in the industry was failing them. And we realized that it wasn't necessarily the carrier, the challenges and the bottlenecks that they had. It was just the technology wasn't there. It wasn't in place to really provide the claimant, the policyholder, that claim when they needed it the most. And
Yeah.
so it was learning through other members and guiding us and, hey, have you thought about this? What about this? And another thing that makes me think about is, not ask what, someone else can do for you, but what can you do for someone else, right? And so
Exactly.
for us, it was like, okay, well, how can we help? We've always approached the industry, and everything that we've done is, how can we help? How can we improve society? And sometimes it is a unique perspective when people like, wait, what? You're doing what? You want to give? You know what I mean? As opposed to take, you want to help educate as opposed to steal. Like, it really is it's a confusing moment, but that's also where being building trust comes, right? It just takes
Hmm.
time to build that trust and
It takes time.
showing up. And sometimes we've been in situations where it's been interesting, with some members that haven't believed in our journey and have thought about possibly, oh, can we work with you as a client? But we don't want to work with you because you're working out of your garage and you're small and you don't have the ability to be here tomorrow. We don't trust. And as opposed to when you talk about sponsorship, as opposed to like, no, I want to see you be here tomorrow. How can I help you? Because I believe in you.
Hmm.
But sometimes when it's really an interesting dynamic working through that. So what we have to do is just work twice as hard to make it half as far, and continue to grind and continue to build and continue to show up every single day like we've been doing for almost a decade now, and just really working hard, and the benefit is we've grown. We've
Hmm.
grown as a business. The podcast has grown, our reach has grown. There's just so much growth that happens over time. Speaking of time, I know we're running on time, and I want to respect your time as well. What are the events that are coming up that you want some of the people to hear about that we have going on? And where can people find NAIA LA, the information, and if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree, and I think we need more people um coming into this industry, and so that's one of our missions at NAIA, and one of our drivers at NAIA of LA, diversify the insurance industry, and we do that through funneling people and creating pipelines and awareness of careers, opportunities. We started a partnership with USC last year,
Nice.
and even some other similar organizations that are aligned in mission, EIP, Link, that work with high school students. And what we're really pouring into this year is creating that apprenticeship program, and not just for college students, but high school students, right? And just to
Mhm.
give awareness of the insurance outside of being a consumer. What is it? Because to your point, insurance is a you can do anything you can do anything industry, right? You can come from education into insurance. You can come from law. You can come from even medical into insurance. And so it's not a just a one silo place, but it's a community full of many people that have different expertises, and that's what makes the industry really great, is because
Yeah.
you bring all these ideas together. And so we at NIA of LA just want to help drive that and create that awareness. So we're always so our apprenticeship program is something that we're invested in, if we are actively looking for the outputs of that, right? And so again, going back to not just being a mentor, not just being a sponsor, but connecting that sponsor to opportunity. We want to
Yes.
practice what we preach. And so if we're building an apprenticeship program and a pipeline for students, we all want them to be able to land jobs and opportunity when off this education is mentorship, while also to providing wraparound services of mentorship and connection networking that NIA of LA can support with our members.
Yes.
Um, we've also to enhanced our programming, our emerging leaders programming, and our agent development and engagement programming. And so just tapping into building up the pipeline of next generation leaders. Everybody don't want to be a leader, but there are people that do. And so what do they need, and how can we help them position themselves better, right? And Agents. We need more agents. We need
Yeah.
more agents out there, because the more agents that we have out conducting business in the community, the more trust builds with the community members, right? And so how can we be an advocate to help get more agents into the field? And so that's one of our pipeline apprenticeship initiatives. Um, and then partnering and providing professional development opportunities for our members. How can we increase the value of our members of our membership to people to make them want to continue to be a member, right? And so we partnered last year with two Black authors, Fela Abioye. He had a really nice book called How to Corporate. And so we bought books for our members and had him come out, and we had it at USC. So where people can get that information of how to really corporate, how to stay in the
Mhm.
game, how to position yourself, how to navigate networking and building relationships and doing and excelling in your role and all of that jazz. And then Bert, I forgot his last name, but he had a book for people to want to be an entrepreneur. How do you do that? If you want to be an entrepreneur and you're working in corporate, how do you make that transition? Learn from somebody who's done it, right?
That's right.
So we bring in all these different assets and resources in to prepare our members and to empower them on what they need to do. And I think it's been a really good success. It's grown our membership about 40%
Yeah.
in just last year, which is amazing results. And we couldn't have done any of that without our amazing sponsors. And so we've sponsored with a lot of corporations, a lot of carriers, a lot of brokers, a lot of TPAs, wholesalers, different people, even tech. Like you, right? And so they pour into our organization to help really allow us to be able to pour into others. And
Mm.
NAAIA Los Angeles is built on 5 pillars. So it's not just professional development and mentoring and networking, but it's also too, because we're in Los Angeles, we know the climate of LA and Southern California. You know, we're different, we have different needs. And so community engagement is a big part of our chapter. Um, and so we connect and partner with other organizations in the community to help them, and that's sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's with different resources, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's just talking and giving awareness to the insurance industry in itself, right, as a consumer. But and then also to wellness, we pour into our members wellness, and not just their financial wellness, but holistic, mental,
Yeah.
emotional, spiritual. And so we have programming and have coaches come in and talk to our members to help them reposition their minds to to step away from the limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves that prevents us from going out there and being all that we can be and receiving all that we can receive, right? And so it's really just empowering our members to move forward. I am excited this year because this year is our 5th year anniversary. We have been chartered for 5 years. um
It's
we
amazing.
Yeah, it is. And it's we went through one leadership transition, so I'm the second president of this organization, and just tasked with leading it into the future. I'm excited. I got an amazing team with me. And we've always had a really solid group of individuals on the board, past and present, that is really poured into getting us to where we're at now. And so I am just excited to celebrate this moment with everyone. And so we are having a 5th year anniversary celebration. It will be in downtown LA. It's
Yes.
July 23rd. And so I encourage anyone that wants to rock with us, or come and celebrate and just be a part of this growing, amazing organization, to come out. Tickets will go on sale in May. But it's definitely going to be an amazing time, and you won't want to miss it. So
Absolutely. NAIA LA has been, like said already, just been an amazing organization to be a part of. Shout out to all the past and present members. Um, the president, Mika, she did such a fantastic job getting this organization and having that vision and doing the work and executing so we can all run now. She really set us up for success. And now you've taken the helm and you're taking it to that next chapter. And so I'm excited to be out there for the 5 year anniversary. It's going to be amazing. Thank you once again, Randy, for being a part of the Snap Refund podcast. I really appreciate your
Oh, I
time.
forgot to tell people where to find us.
Yes, please.
Yeah, find us. If you're interested in sponsorship or to become a member, you can go to our website, losangeles.naia.org. That is our website. You can find us on LinkedIn, our company page, NAIA Los Angeles. And then if you want to be a member, go to the national website, NAAIA.org. Locate membership, select chapter membership, Los Angeles chapter, and then that's how you can become a member. And then you can find me, Randi Kasongo, on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, highly recommended. If you are looking for an organization like NAIA, I'm telling you, it is the organization that you need to be a part of. It's been instrumental to me. Randy, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time once again.
Thank you,
And
Anise.
thank you. And we will catch you guys next time. Peace, y'all.